Welcome to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on the sunrise. I'm very, very excited to be here on this beautiful Wednesday morning. And it is the middle of the week. Well, it is crazy how soon or how fast time passes because you absolutely can't even begin to fathom how quickly time passes, right? I mean, it almost felt like Monday was yesterday, but actually it is Wednesday today. And things are much different, so it's all a matter of adjusting. It's all a matter of getting used to how quickly time is passing by these days, because time is in fact passing by very fast. Now you're with me, Sarah, on the sunrise, and I'm very excited to be here because I do have a lot of interesting and fun things that I will be sharing with you. So make sure you stay tuned because, like I said, there are so many fun and interesting things that we will be talking about, especially things that are very important right now because of how much of because of how much things are happening in the world right now. Okay, so obviously I'm talking about all the things that happened in the past week, all the things that are happening all around the world. Now if you're interested in some of the things we talk about, if you're interested in what exactly we're talking about, make sure you go follow us on our socials, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, because you can keep yourself updated and informed about everything else that we talk about, which is exactly like this. So make sure you do that because, like I said, there is so many different things for us to be talking about. So make sure you stay tuned because I will be sharing a lot of interesting things with you as well. And also, while you're at it, make sure to download our app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, which means that you can listen into this conversation from anywhere in the world at any time of the day. And I honestly cannot think of anything better than that. It's absolutely amazing to get to know all this conversation, to be aware of all this conversation, because it definitely helps us be more aware. It helps us stay informed and updated about everything that happens in the world. And also, if you want to share your thoughts and opinions with me, well, the best way to do that is just to text me on 07852 473 473 and get in touch with me. That way, you can be a part of the show. That way, you can share your thoughts and experiences with everyone who's listening in, and also with me as well, because obviously I would love to hear what you have to say about everything. Now let's actually get into the conversation today, which is about cyberbullying. Now the reason I am talking about this is obviously we all saw the whole, we all saw a whole bunch of events unfurl, especially after the Euro finals, right? And there was a lot of cyberbullying, there was a lot of online harassment, and that's why I felt like we needed to talk about this, because this issue has always existed. It's not something that just popped up recently, because it was always there. So when we're talking about cyberbullying, we will be talking about how exactly cyberbullying works, what exactly it is, what laws are in place to stop cyberbullying, and how it affects people as well. So make sure you stay tuned because we will be talking about all of that, especially because that conversation is important. We need to have that conversation, and that conversation is going to make you much aware of everything that happens. Especially, it will also make you aware if you are a bully or if you have gotten bullied online, if you aren't too sure. And the goal of this, obviously, is actually to then figure out if you can change your ways and become a better person, so we can make sure that the world is a better place for everyone else to live in as well. Now, to talk about cyberbullying, now an important conversation that we need to have is cyberbullying. It's very important. We just saw it happen a few days back, and it's still happening. But obviously, the fact of the matter is, a lot of attention was drawn to it when the football players were harassed online because of the finals, right? So obviously, after Euro 2020, we saw how bad cyberbullying is in the United Kingdom. We saw how badly all these people, especially players of color, were affected because they were getting a lot of threats. They were being harassed online a lot as well. And this is, in fact, a sad reality for a lot of people in the United Kingdom. And this just doesn't happen once in a while. This happens on an everyday basis. And the fact of the matter is, even though we have these laws, even though we have these different regulations and whatnot to actually help people, to make sure that victims of cyberbullying have some sort of authority that they can report to, and have some way in which they can get justice for themselves, we see that regardless of all of that existing, this still takes place, right? Cyberbullying still happens. People still bully other people online, and it is a very cowardly thing to do. So, especially after the match that happened, after the match, there was a lot of cyberbullying, and especially with regard to all the threats and the racial slurs that Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, and Jadon Sancho had to go through. We see that this is in fact the not the first time that these players have had to go through things like that, and this is simply because they lost penalties. But what we need to keep in mind is that it's also these players that led England to the finals after such a long time. But football, England, that's a whole other conversation to be having some other time. But what I am talking about right now is about how these players were harassed online. And I'm not talking only about these players, I'm talking about everyone else who has gotten harassed online as well. But it's important to start from somewhere, right? And the best way in which you can see how badly harassment online happens is through these players, through the examples of these players who had to go through, a lot of harassment and verbal abuse as well. So this isn't the first time this has happened. It has been happening for a while now. And over half of the UK's 12 to 15-year-olds have in fact faced some form of bullying, including cyberbullying, over the last year. Okay, now we will be talking about cyberbullying, but I'll also be talking a little bit more about bullying as well, because the interrelated topics. And if we're talking about cyberbullying, we need to talk about bullying as well. Now when it comes to cyberbullying, it's not only something that children are affected by, but there are also adults affected by it as well, especially if you're a person of color, especially if you're disabled, if you have a different sexual orientation and you've come out with that with your sexual orientation. Chances are there are going to be so many trolls on the internet saying terrible things to you. And the truth of the matter is, it's not just normal people. We've seen so many celebrities being trolled by people as well. We've seen celebrities trolling people. And the truth of the matter is, it's actually very sad and it's a very heartless thing to do. Um, because you're putting that person, you're making that person very uncomfortable. You're basically making them fear their life, fear their safety, fear the protection, because you're basically targeting them online for being who they are, for doing the things that they do. And that is definitely not the best thing to do, especially in this day and age. Now if you have any thoughts that are similar to this, or if you have any thoughts that are different to this, make sure you share with me on 078 because I would absolutely love to hear what you have to say about it, right? Because it's not just something you or I go through. Everyone goes through it. Everyone has been through it, or some of us have even played a part in it, to make sure that other people feel inferior, to make assure to make other people feel like their life is in danger. And there's a lot of reasons as to why it's the worst thing to do. There's a lot of reasons as to why you shouldn't be doing it, but people still do it regardless of all these laws and regulations that exist. These people still keep continuing to bully people online. So, research by the National Center for Social Research actually found that 47% of young people reported being bullied at the age of 14. And this same study, in fact, went on to show that girls are more likely to be bullied than boys in the same age group. Now, that is amongst children, but cyberbullying, like I said, also happens to adults as well. Now, 18 to 24-year-olds are in fact the most likely group to be bullied online, but the unpleasant practice affects Britons of every age and leads to confidence problems in real life conversations. Okay, so when you bully people online, when you make people feel a certain way, it's going to lead to a lot of issues in terms of accepting themselves, in terms of in terms of accepting themselves, and in terms of being who they really are. And why that's detrimental is because it's going to affect them in the future, right? In terms of depression, anxiety, and different other things that you could actually be going through because of depression, or rather because of bullying. It affects people a lot, and it affects them negatively as well. There is a lot of trauma that people who have been bullied carry, and it's in fact very, very hurtful and painful to go back on those memories, right? And I know it's easier said than done. I know it's easy to talk about cyberbullying, it's easy to throw around a bunch of statistics, but what's important is that this conversation, this understanding has to start from ourselves. we ourselves have to tell ourselves, look, there is something wrong with what we're doing. There is something that that needs to change. So how exactly do we make this change? Because when it comes to cyberbullying, it's not only little children that are affected by it. It's not only, old people, or much older people that are affected by it. There are even celebrities that are being affected by it. And if anything, the very recent incidents of the football players, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, and Bukayo Saka, those are examples. That is a living example of the fact that even celebrities, even adults get bullied, right? So it is an important conversation we need to have. It is an important thing we need to focus on, and we need to start making sure that when it comes to change, the change happens from ourselves, right, from within ourselves. Now, flaming is actually this form of language where someone uses offensive language in a deliberate attempt to get into a fight, right? Something which has been experienced by 1 in 11 British people online. So that just goes to show that about 9% of people have been victims of have been victims of flaming, rather, and that about 23% of British people have in fact experienced cyberbullying. So that is a very, very high number. And I know it's just very easy to come here, have this conversation, and tell you, look, it's bad. We have to make these changes. We have to do this. We have to do that. But what we don't understand, or what we don't realize, is when we bully people, when we put people through situations like that, through instances like that, it not only affects us negatively, but it also affects them negatively. And for them, it's much more worse than the people who actually bully them, because they carry the impacts, they carry the trauma of bullying till they probably die. They carry it for a really, really long time. Because when it comes to bullying, people are definitely going to make fun of things they're insecure about. How many times have we seen celebrities on Instagram, especially celebrities who just had surgery, for example, like Selena Gomez? How many times was she trolled when she posted that bikini, she posted that picture of her in a bikini right after she got her surgery, and people were telling things about her body? How many celebrities have we seen that have been called fat simply because they didn't fit into these ideals of perfection and beauty, simply because they were either after a pregnancy, or they had a surgery, or that's just how they normally were? How many times have we seen uh, comments where it actually genuinely hurt people? And the best example that we can actually find is just to go on the internet, because you can see it happening on a daily basis. So it is very important that we talk about it, and it's very important that you share your thoughts and ideas with me, because the change is from us, right? We need to make the change. So if you have any thoughts, if you have any ideas you want to share with me, then you know how to get in touch with me. But right now, let's actually head into a small break, and after that, we will be back to keep talking about um, cyberbullying, and what exactly it means when it comes to people who have been through bullying and whatnot. welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on the Sunrise, and we do have a lot of fun and interesting conversation happening right here on Relax Radio. So make sure you stay tuned to Relax Radio because I do have a lot of fun and interesting things to be sharing with you right here in the morning. Okay, and I know it's very early in the morning, too early for some of us to even be awake, but that's what I do. Okay, I'm here to keep you. I'm here to keep you company all the way from 6 a.m. until 9 a.m. to make sure you get the best of everything that happens in the world. So make sure you stay tuned to Relax Radio because I will be sharing a lot of things that happen, not just here in the United Kingdom, but all around the world as well, especially in terms of fitness, in terms of health, in terms of mental health. I will be helping you because no, it's sometimes hard, but we have to keep going. We can never give up. That's what life is about. Don't ever give up, right? So make sure you stay tuned to Relax Radio because we got the best of conversation for you. And if you want to get in touch with us, if you want to share your thoughts and your opinions with us, well, you can do that because all you need to do is just text me on 078 And also, if you want to even call me, you can do that. All you need to do is just contact me on the exact same number. Now, make sure to share your thoughts, make sure to share your opinion because I definitely want to know what you're thinking. I definitely want to know what you are talking about as well. So make sure you do that because I would love if you were a part of my show. And also, don't forget to follow us on our socials, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. That way, you can actually be a part of the show. You can make sure that you know about everything that happens here. Right here on Relax Radio, but also, all around the world as well. And don't forget to download the app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. So make sure you do that. But right now, let's actually head back into our conversation about cyberbullying because that is something that we saw happening a lot the past few days, right? So let's head back into that conversation. Now, what exactly is cyberbullying? What would you define as cyberbullying, and what exactly is punishable under cyberbullying? We will be talking about all of that right now. Now, cyberbullying is in fact bullying that takes place over digital devices, for example, like your cell phone, your computers, or your tablets. And cyberbullying can actually happen through SMS, it can happen through texting, it can happen through apps or online and social media, in different forums, or even gaming where people can will participate in or even share content. And we've seen this happen a lot, right? Every time you go on social media, someone has something negative to say about you that you already know. Look, I know that I have acne, and it's not something I'm very happy about. It's something I'm insecure about, but people will still point out your mistakes and tell you, look, you have acne, you should do this, you should do that. Like, oh yeah, thanks for telling me, because I totally didn't wake up in the morning and look at my face. Thank you for telling me, thank you for making me aware, which is the kind of attitude that a lot of us have, right? When people say stuff, and it's fair, it's understandable, because no one wants to be told things that they don't like about themselves early in the morning or at any time of the day to begin with. There's a reason you don't like it about yourself, right? So when it comes to cyberbullying, that's basically how it works, because you have a lot of people, you have different people on the internet telling you things, saying different things about you. And cyberbullying also includes sending, posting, or sharing negative, harmful, false, or even mean content about someone else. Okay, and this is just the very basic definition of it, but we all know what we mean when what we mean actually when we say posting or sharing negative, harmful, or even false content about someone else. It can also include sharing personal or private information about someone else and causing embarrassment or humiliation. Now we've seen that happen so many times, right? But what gets to me, or what really makes me think, is sometimes we actually have the capacity, we have the opportunity to stop it, but why is it that we don't stop it? Right now, for example, if you take Instagram, Instagram is against bullying. They have this whole policy on not tolerating cyberbullying and whatnot. But regardless, it takes so much of work and effort to take down something negative that someone has posted about you. And the worst thing is, cyberbullying happens on the internet, right? Which means that all of these negative content that people post about you is in fact accessible to everyone, literally everyone in this world. And I'm not even exaggerating it when I say everyone, because literally everyone is accessible to it, right? So, like I said, when it's accessible to everyone, you can anyone else, anyone in this world can access information about you that's very, very harmful for you as well. So, like I said, because it includes sharing personal or private information, and it also includes information that could cause embarrassment to someone or even humiliation. It is in fact a very dangerous thing. Now, some cyberbullying cases in fact crosses the line into unlawful or criminal behavior, and that is something we will be talking about as well. If you have any thoughts, if you have any experiences of cyberbullying that you have gone through, make sure you share with me, because I also do have a few personal stories to share with you as well. So make sure you do that, because at one point we've all been victims of cyberbullying, right? So make sure you share your thoughts with me. You can text me on 078 and you can share your thoughts with me as well. Now, what places exactly do cyberbullying happen? Now, we know it's online, but what kind of online are we talking about? So we have social media such as Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. And we also have other places like text messaging and messaging apps on mobile or tablet devices, which is basically WhatsApp, Telegram, other messaging devices that are apps that you use. And even instant messaging, direct messaging, and online chatting over the internet can, in fact, be a way that people harass you. So, online forums, chat rooms, message boards such as Reddit, email, and even online gaming communities can be a place where you feel harassed, where you feel like you're being bullied, right? And one thing we obviously need to talk about is that. Is when it comes to the things people tell you, when it comes to the things that people do to you, and especially when it concerns the internet, sometimes it's not just people from your own country. I mean, it's the internet, there's people from everywhere in the world. So in instances like that, especially when people from other countries as well do really weird stuff, and they don't have necessary rules and regulations to deal with those issues, to deal with cyberbullying, what exactly do you do? How do you deal with that? Because I can't tell you I can't count the number of times I've been added to random groups on Facebook, and this was content that was very inappropriate, content that was something that I didn't even want to be added into. So in that case, except leaving that group, except blocking these people, what else do you do, and how exactly do you get justice for that? Because that is a question we need to talk about as well. We need to talk about what extent of bullying we consider as bullying. At what extent do you actually get jailed? At what extent do you get penalized? Because it's very easy to say, oh, if someone causes you harm, they can get jailed. But what kind of harm are we talking about? When you say harm, is it just mental harm? Is it physical harm? Now, there's so many questions like that as well. So that is a lot of things to be talking about, and I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. So make sure you text me on 078 and get in touch with me. Share your thoughts, share your opinions with me as well, because I would absolutely love to hear everything that you have to share with me. Now, like I said, cyberbullying happens in different platforms. It can be social media, it can be instant messaging apps, it can be email, it can be online forums. Because how many times have you or I had messages, especially random men, weird men on the internet, text you and tell you things, and it's really, really gross. And that is a form of harassment. That is a form of, I mean, not necessarily bullying, but it is a form of harassment, right? So, where exactly do we draw the line as well? Now, there are some special concerns, for example, with the prevalence of social media and digital forums, even comments, photos, posts, and content that are shared by individuals, which can often be viewed by strangers as well as acquaintances, right? So, because social media is a place that is easily accessible to all, you can literally get to know someone else's entire life if you just send them a follow request on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, and then they accept it. You will literally get to know everything about that person's life. So then it's very, very important that we ourselves really think about what kind of friend request, what kind of follow request we accept, right? And a lot of it is actually based on how private of a person you are. So, for example, Of course, I can't say I don't post anything about myself at all. I do, but I'm very particular about the people I accept. You know, if someone sends me a follow request on Instagram, I'm very particular about which friend request, which follow request I accept, and I think that's a step that we all need to start taking as well to make sure we can't, to make sure we try to reduce that harassment for ourselves online, because we know all these rules and regulations exist, but at the end of the day I feel like when it comes to us, we have to protect ourselves. It doesn't matter if all these rules and regulations exist. It doesn't matter if there are so many different laws that you could be penalized under. We have to take care of ourselves. We just have to. So having said that, if there are any experiences that you want to share with me, any thoughts, any instances where you have been cyberbullied, make sure to text me on 07852473473 to get in touch with me and to share your thoughts with me, to share your opinions with me as well. So, getting back to the special concerns that are there, especially with regard to social media, now the content that an individual shares online, both either their personal content as well as any negative, mean, or hurtful content, it actually creates a kind of permanent public record of their views, activities, and behavior. Because whatever you post on the internet can easily be screenshotted, right? And then someone else will have it. And the moment you apply for a job, the moment you apply for something important in your life, those things will come back to haunt you. So, whether it's things you say or whether it's things people say about you, it's in fact very, very harmful. So how do you sort of combat the fact that people might not always like you, that people might have a lot of negative things to say about you? How do you combat that? Because that's not a very easy thing to do, right? Because you don't know which person will do what to you, and you don't know how exactly things will work. So, because of things like that, how exactly do you take care of yourself? How exactly do you make sure you don't fall into that same pit and you don't get into trouble? So, those are a lot of questions that a lot of us have. So, like I said, because it's the internet, it's easily accessible, and it also has a permanent public record of everything you have done, right? And this public record can actually be thought of as an online reputation that you have, which may in fact be accessible to schools, to employers, colleges, clubs, and others who in fact may be researching an individual now or even in the future. Now, cyberbullying can in fact harm the online reputations of everyone involved, not just the person who's being bullied, but those who are actually bullying or participating in it as well. So this is a huge problem, and it affects everyone. It affects everyone. I'm not going to say equally because obviously it doesn't, but it affects everyone. So we need to collectively, come together to make sure that we combat this, to make sure we protect ourselves, but also to make sure we protect our children, our friends, and stop things like this, terrible things like this, from happening to them. Now, make sure you stay tuned because right now we're going to head into a small break, but after that, I will be back to quickly talk to you about everything that is happening, everything that is going on in the UK, especially with regards to cyberbullying.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you've got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just this basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with, and your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account, and then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million pounds. And they're different. Huh? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
Again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Why did you reject my son? Well, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, how much has changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense. They can't
accept rejection, essentially, is all you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you, how did I do? Or you didn't do very well, and they get upset, And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young. Well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, he might say to me, you had one to forget. That's it.
Your dad sounds like a smart guy. I mean, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He'd say to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I had to dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. An inquest. Why did you reject my son? Well, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much. A lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because, as you said, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. For the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid. I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relaks Radio. You're tuned into the sunrise, and I'm super excited to be here because we're talking about a huge problem that is presently there in the United Kingdom. And I can't even say presently because it's been there for a really, really long time. And this is not the first time it's happening. It's just it's become much much worse than it used to be right now. And that's why I always keep telling you, we have to change, or we have to solve the problem as soon as we can. We need to start addressing the problem from the grassroots level, and not wait until it gets much much worse, because then things do get worse for everyone. It gets worse for not just the people who are involved, the victims of that problem, but also the perpetrators of the problem. And that's why I always tell, we should always try to address a problem as soon as it happens. You're tuned in to Relax Radio with me, Sarah, and you're tuned into the Sunrise as well, where I will be keeping you company all the way until 9 a.m. So make sure you stay tuned, because we do have a lot more left to talk about cyberbullying, and we have a lot more left to talk about what exactly can be done when it comes to cyberbullying, and why it's so important. Now, cyberbullying has unique concerns in that it can actually be very persistent, because digital devices offer an ability to immediately and continuously communicate for 24 hours a day. So it can be difficult for children experiencing cyberbullying to actually find relief. And it's also permanent, because most information that is communicated electronically is in fact permanent and public. And if you don't report it, or if you don't remove it, it can also create a negative online reputation, including for those who bully. It can impact college admissions, employment, and other areas of life. And that's why it's very very important for us to start understanding the effects of cyberbullying. Now, it's also very hard to notice, because teachers and parents may not necessarily overhear or see cyberbullying take place, but and that makes it much much harder to recognize. So we then have this question of, when should you take action, and what can you do to actually protect yourself? So if you see something inappropriate, if you ever come across anything on the internet that makes you feel uncomfortable, no matter where it is or what it is, please, please, please do report it. Okay, the best way to deal with cyberbullying, the best way to take a stand for yourself, to stand up for yourself, is to report it, right? There's no point. I mean, look, I understand that sometimes things don't happen the way you want them to. Things don't always work at the speed you want it to, but it's important that you report it, because when you report it, then there's going to be, people are going to start focusing on it, especially, the police and everyone who's in charge of everyone who's in charge of prosecuting criminals will in fact be aware of it. They will in fact pay attention to it, because if the numbers are going to increase every day, then they have no problem but to solve it, right? And the truth is, they shouldn't even wait for the numbers to increase, but that's just how it works. That's just how our systems work, right? So to actually understand, or to actually see how we need to take much much more awareness when it comes to situations like this, it's always important to report it. Now, another thing that is relevant when it comes to cyberbullying is obviously rumors, right? Rumors is basically when people say mean or malicious things about you. And if someone has posted false or malicious things about you on the internet or on social networking site, it can actually be regarded as harassment. Harassment on or off the line is in fact a crime under the UK laws, because because it can be very distressing, and anything terrible that is posted about you can be seen by lots of people very very quickly as well, because it's so public and everyone has access to it. And the people who bully you in fact do that because they know that everyone can find that abuse, everyone can find the harassment, everyone can find what exactly they're call they're abusing you for, and they do that with that intention in mind. So that's why it's important for you to report it, for you to make that complaint as soon as possible, because it can result in your bully getting prosecuted. It can result in your bully having a criminal sentence. So it's very very important for you to do that. And I know it's easier said than done, because sometimes it's very hard to open up and tell someone about how you've been bullied, about all your insecurities, but you have to do that for yourself. You owe for yourself at least that. Now, increasingly there are increasingly common complaints that the spreading of malicious rumors and vicious gossip is in fact carried out by someone who you really know, like your best friend or someone from your family. So whoever it is, be very very careful who you tell your information to. Be choose your friends carefully. be very, how would I put this, be, think twice before you trust someone. Don't naively trust people, because it's something we're all guilty of, right? We naively trust people, but the truth is, don't do that, because you don't know what kind of people they are. They might be nice to you, but behind your back they might actually be doing things to you. Now, if you're being threatened, that again is in fact another reason as to, as to you reporting it, as to why you should report it, because that can also result in them getting, penalized for it, because it's against the law in the United Kingdom to use the phone system, which includes the internet, to cause alarm or distress. It could even be against the 1997 Harassment Act. So if threats are made against you, then it's essential that you in fact alert someone you trust, or you call a helpline, or you contact the police as much as you can. And another thing that you really need to do is to try and get documentary evidence as much as you can. The moment someone says something weird to me, the moment someone says something rude to me, I take screenshots and I get it printed. Because, look, it is a painful reminder when you see those screenshots. It's very painful, because you have people telling bad things about you, but it can actually help you to make sure you get the justice you deserve. If you want to put someone, if you want to put someone in jail, or if you want to make sure that they get the relevant punishment, that they do get their deserved punishment, then the best way to do that is to try and collect much evidence as much as you can. That is something I always do. So make sure you try to collect as much evidence as you can. And if you're being blackmailed, this is actually a criminal offense in the UK, so it should be reported as well. Now, let's talk about some laws that are in place to actually protect you from harassment. Let's talk about some laws that are actually there to make sure that you're safe, to make sure that people don't abuse their power when it comes to you. Now, one of the laws that are currently in place is something called the Protection from Harassment Act, which was established in 1997. Now, under this act, it is in fact a criminal offense for a person to pursue a course of conduct which in fact amounts to harassment of another, or where the perpetrator knows or ought to know amounts to harassment. Okay, so if you know someone is harassing you, if you have evidence for it, then show it, report it, because you can actually get justice for yourself. And this can actually include sending a person multiple abusive emails with the intention of causing alarm or distress. Okay, so that is the first law that's there in place. And then there is a Malicious Communications Act of 1988. Now, Section 1 of the Malicious Communications Act of 1988 states that it's in fact an offense for any person to send communication that is indecent or grossly offensive for the purpose of causing distress or anxiety to the recipient. Right? And let's talk about bullying. You know that they purposely send you indecent or offensive things because they know it's going to cause you distress, because they know that you're going to get affected by it, right? So in that case, it's important for you to report it, because this act, it also extends to threats and information which is false and known or believed to be false by the sender of the communication. Okay, especially if someone is out there spreading malicious false information about you, take the steps that you need to take, because ultimately it shouldn't even be, you shouldn't even have to do that, but the truth of the matter is you have to, because that person could potentially ruin your whole life. They could potentially ruin your whole life, because information that's published on the internet stays there forever. It's permanent, right? Unless you get it removed, or unless you get it reported and blocked or whatnot, it's very, very hard to take down this information, because like I said, the internet is a place that's accessible to everyone, right? Everyone can go there. So what exactly then do we do? What are some of the steps that we can take in addition to all these laws that exist? Now, I will be talking about all of that, but I really, really wanted to share your thoughts and your information, or your experience rather. Share your thoughts and your experiences, your opinions, whatever it is that you have to say. Make sure you share with me. All you need to do is just text me on 078 and you can get in touch with me and share your thoughts and experience, because that is something I would love to hear, especially when it comes to something as like bullying, when it comes to something like online harassment. These are conversations we need to have. These are things that we need to break the taboo around, and this is why Relax Radio is there, for you to talk about your problems. Not problems necessarily, but you can do that too, but for you to actually talk about all of these instances where you've been bullied, where you felt like you weren't worthy, felt like you weren't enough. Now, that's what the sunrise is for. Make sure you text me, you call me, you drop in your messages, because I would love to share some of your stories with everyone on the show, because it will help everyone understand how traumatic, how terrible bullying is, right? So make sure you do that, because like I said, it's scary, but it can help, right? But right now, let's actually head into a small break, but and then after that we will be back to continue this conversation.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh. So that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Girls, ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts, mainly one, because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay.
They're
I mean, yeah,
nice.
that's very important, right? Because
Very
you want
important,
cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in like calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on here, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh. So that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Girls, ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on the Sunrise, and I'm super, super excited to be here because we are having a very important and interesting conversation about cyberbullying. And obviously, the reason we're having this conversation is because recently we saw how bad cyberbullying is in the United Kingdom, and it's a problem that has always existed in the United Kingdom. So it's important for us to focus on this. It's important for us to pay attention to it and actually make sure that we try to solve this problem and make sure that it's a better, safer place. The internet is a much better and safer place for all of us who use the internet. Okay, so we were just talking about a few laws that were in place to actually make sure that people were safe, to make sure that people were protected, and because of that, it's very, very important for us to make sure that we try to play our part, try to play our role, especially when it comes to making sure we have a safer space for people to express themselves and express their thoughts and opinions. Now, Relax Radio is in fact a very safe space for you to express your thoughts and opinions. So make sure you text me on 07852473473 to share your thoughts and experiences with me. And also, while you're at it, you can in fact go follow us on our socials, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And that way, you can actually make sure that you are informed and updated about everything that is happening all over the world. But also, don't forget to go download our app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. That way, you can be a part of the show any time of the day from anywhere in the world. So don't forget to do that. But we were talking about some laws, so let's get back into that. So we were just talking about the Malicious Communications Act of 1988, but right now let's move on and talk about the Communications Act of 2003. Now, Section 127 of the Communications Act of 2003 makes it a criminal offense to send via any electronic communication network a message or any other matter that is deemed grossly offensive or of an indecent, obscene, or menacing character. Okay, so if something someone sends you makes you feel that way, if you think if you think it's grossly offensive or indecent or obscene, you can report it, right? And the Obscene Publications Act of 1959 makes it an offense to publish an obscene article, right? An obscene article is basically classed as one whose effect is to deprave and corrupt persons likely to read, see, or hear the matter contained or embodied in the article. And publishing, in fact, includes circulating, showing, playing, or projecting the article or transmitting the data. So, all of these things are, in fact, they can in fact be penalized if one person is caught doing one of these things. And it's important that the more we go through harassment, the more we go through cyberbullying, that we start reporting this, that we start telling them, look, this happened to me, and that we collect as much evidence as we can, because we need to keep we need to keep fighting for ourselves. This is a fight that won't end until there is a safe space, there's a safe place for all of us to talk about our feelings, to talk about our emotions as well, right? Now, in terms of help and support, there are ways in which you can get help and support. If you are a victim of bullying or cyberbullying, or you need help, you want someone to talk to, there are actually a few places that you can do that. So, for example, if you're a victim of cyberbullying and you need emotional or practical help or advice, you can call the National Bullying Helpline, because it provides information and support for victims of bullying and cyberbullying of any age. Okay, look, I know when it comes to cyberbullying, you expect it's something that children go through, but the truth is, a lot of adults go through it as well. So, regardless of your age, regardless of whether you're a child or an adult, you can in fact call the National Bullying Helpline, because they will help you with, physical support, or rather practical support, and they will also help you with emotional help or advice as well. So make sure you do contact them. Another place that you can contact is, in fact, the NSPCC, which provides emotional support for children who are victims of bullying, and practical advice for parents on how to prevent and address these concerns. If you're a parent, if your child is being bullied, then you can call them and you can ask them ways in which you can help your child, ways in which you can prevent bullying and address the concerns with regard to bullying as well. Now, the Anti-Bullying Alliance is also a hub of advice, support, and training links for both children and adults, with up-to-date government information and interactive tools to support those seeking emotional support and further information. So if you feel the need to contact any of these places to, get some help, to get some advice on what to do, well, you can definitely contact these places, because it's definitely going to help you and your children and everyone else who's going through that as well. Bullying is in fact a huge problem here in the United Kingdom. It's something that we need to address. It's something that we need to combat as well. And make sure you do that. Make sure you combat um make sure you play a part rather in combating all of the violence, the harassment that people go through online. Because when it comes to online harassment, it's not just children, it's not just adults, it's men, it's women, it's people of color, it's all of those people. So make sure you take the necessary steps, that you report, that you let people know that you're being harassed. That way you can actually make it a much safer place for you. You can make sure that they're penalized for the terrible things that they do on the internet as well. And stand against cyberbullying. If you contribute to bullying, really take a look back, think twice about what you're doing, think about whether it's actually something good you're doing, or if it's something harmful, and make the correct decisions that you need to make. Okay, because it is in fact a huge problem. Now make sure you stay tuned, because I'll be back in a few more minutes to talk to you about how there's an epidemic of violence against women in England and Wales. Okay, so make sure you stay tuned, because again, like I said, that is an important conversation that we need to be having. But I will be back in a few more minutes to keep talking about it.